So I wanted to do one more part to this because I realized that what I went through was a very specific scenario. You know, you're running both programs on the same computer and you want it to come out of your video image bin. Well, what if that's not the case? What if instead of triggering out of your video image bin, you wanted to trigger a slide instead? And in another video, the next video, I'm going to cover how to get the Midi data to go from computer to computer. It's from Mac to Mac specifically. But this one, I want to teach you how to trigger slides instead of video image bin content. Now, to do this, you really need to send 3 separate Midi notes per queue. You need to send one that selects the playlist, one that selects the playlist item, and then another one that selects the slide within that playlist item. Now you could just send the last one and that's it, but if another playlist item was ever selected, it would select a slide within that instead. So you want to send each of those 3 commands in order to ensure that that background that you want is going to come up on the screen. So let me teach you how to send 3 commands to ProPresenter given 1 input from Lightkey using BOEM Midi translator. So we're going to start from where we were. I'm going to hit Command E here to go to my assignments window. I'm going to make sure that my output's routed. It is. I've got all my assignments still done, just like last time. I'm going to come into BOEM and I have to make 3 translators per queue now because I'm sending 3 Midi notes. But on these translators, we're going to set the input to the same thing, right? So I'm going to send it to a Midi message, control change, and we'll do it for our Violet Dreams background. So CC1 at value 1, and make sure that that's coming from the BOEM virtual input. And I'm going to do that for all 3 of these. This is all 3 for one single queue. So all these inputs are going to be CC1 value 1. Because they all pertain to the Violet Dreams. Let me do one more. Let's go control change 1, value 1, coming from the BOEM port. Okay, so now when I send that command from Lightkey, it's going to trigger all 3 of these translators. But the way that BOEM works is that it doesn't trigger them all at the same time. It actually triggers this one, then this one, then this one. It just does it really, really fast. And that's to our advantage because in ProPresenter, we want it to trigger this one, then this one, then this one in a sequence. And that's exactly what BOEM is going to do for us. So now we need to figure out which notes we need to send. So let's go back to ProPresenter preferences. We're going to come back into our Midi module, Midi setup, and it's going to be these 3 right here. Select playlist, so 17 or F-1 is going to trigger this. 18 is going to trigger our playlist items. 19 is going to trigger our slides. And just like with our note number 21, the velocity of each of these notes is going to select which item. So 17 at velocity 1 will select this, velocity 2 will select this. 18 at velocity 1 will select this, velocity 2, and so on. And then, of course, at 19, we'll select the slide, given the velocity that we put in. So for our Violet Dreams background, we want to select this one right here. We need to send 17 at velocity 2 for the Sunday playlist, 18 at velocity 3 for the backgrounds, and 19 at velocity 2 for the slide itself. So let's go ahead and set that up in BOEM. Come to my first one here, go to my outgoing Midi. I'm going to hit Midi message. Let's see, it's going to be note number 17, we said. Scroll up to 17 here. At velocity 2, because it's the second playlist, right? I think. I'm going to make sure. So 2, 3, 2, yep. So it's the second playlist. Now my second translator, I'm going to hit Midi message note on number 18, which is my select playlist item note at velocity. I think it's 3. Yep, 3. Oh, and make sure that we're routing to our specific MIDI out ports. I always forget this step. So BOEM MIDI translator out, and let's go to our first one and make sure we hit the specific ports and route it to the virtual out. Now our last one is going to be note number 19. So MIDI note 19 at velocity 2, because it's the second video. Make sure we're routing out to BOEM virtual out, just like that. All right, so now, again, when we send our MIDI CC, or our Violet Dreams, it's going to send the MIDI data out, trigger all 3 of these in a row, which is going to select our item just like we want it right here. So I'm going to go ahead and select that background, call up Lightkey. Let's see if this works. Look at that, it sure did. All right. And I won't go through all of them on this video, but I wanted to show you exactly how you trigger 3 at a time. Now you got to make sure, again, that you got to make sure, again, that you're sending those notes in sequence. So 17, 18, 19. You don't want to get that out of order, or it's not going to trigger the slide that you want it to. So make sure that it's 17, 18, 19, and all of these are being triggered by that one cue. So that takes your cue count on this show. Would have taken it from 5 to 15 translators that we have to set up. So that's why I really recommend using the video image bin. I think it's a lot simpler, but there could be any number of scenarios that would require you to trigger a slide. So I wanted to make sure I included it. In part 3, we'll talk about how to set up your computer or your Mac. This is going to be a more general thing that applies to a lot of things, but to be able to send MIDI data from one Mac to another, where if you don't have Lightkey living on the same computer as ProPresenter, we need to find a way, and we're going to do it via the network, to send MIDI data from one program or one computer to the other. So we'll cover that in the next one. But that's it.